Good morning and welcome to OEM Updates live interactive session on vocal for local and defense manufacturing. India's defense manufacturing is a significant sector for Indian economy. India has been one of the top importers for defense equipment manufacturing. Also, the government has set the defense production target at 25 billion US dollars by 2025. This includes the 5 billion US dollars from exports. Even the Union Budget 2021-22 has announced an allocation of rupees 4.78 lakh crores for defense sector. This brings in 19% of the additional investments this year as compared to rupees 4.17 lakh crores that was allocated in the year 2020 and 2021. With this, India will be able to achieve the target of rupees 1.75 lakh crores and become an industry, a big industry for defense manufacturing. Today, on this note, you're going to be a part of an interactive and engaging session on vocal for local and defense manufacturing. Today, our industry experts will discuss the emerging opportunities and challenges in the defense manufacturing sector. Also, the discussion will put light on enhancing security systems, measurement systems, and manufacturing processes with automation and other newer technologies. Ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor and privilege for me to introduce you to our today's esteemed panelists, Mr. T.K. Ramesh, Managing Director of Micromatic Machine Tools Private Limited, a part of ACE Micromatic Group. Mr. Utkarsh Landekar, he is the head for laser businesses for India and exports at Mesa Cutting Systems Private Limited. Mr. Manoj K.S., the head for business development for IQS Solutions at ZEISS Industrial Metrology. So delegates, get ready for an interactive and engaging session on vocal for local and defense manufacturing.
To start with our panel discussion, Ramesh sir, I would like to start with you, stating you put a very interesting proposition, like you said, not to lose the globalness of our products. So I would like to ask you, what kind of products and technologies are required to boost the operational efficiency in defense equipment?
See, if we look at our plans, whether it is from a government perspective or initiatives that the government endorse, or whether it is from private sector, unfortunately, when all is said and done, we always find out that more is said than actually it is being done. So let me kind of give a very simple example, whether you take it as defense or whether you take it as any other products too. See, I am from the machine tool business, and everybody talks of CNC lathes, CNC machining centers, and that's of course, that's the state of art, or let's say not even state of art, that's the entry level, or whether it's, laser cutting, whatever it is. But let's not forget that still across the world, there are hundreds of thousands of non-CNC machines also that are being used. Now, if you really, exactly like what Mr. Nath said, if our per capita income has to go up, then we need to integrate more with the globe. So your question, what kind of products? There are markets for every product. Now, from an Indian perspective, everybody talks of technology. Everybody wants to, now what are we doing with the technology that we already have? Show me how many people consistently are exporting even the simplest of products to the world. Now, this is exactly where China came, and what Mr. Rajesh Nath said, why per capita income in China is higher. So the question is, you need to move up the value chain and you got to begin somewhere. So even if it's defense, now in defense, there is need for rucksacks, uniforms, haversacks, so many things that really don't call for calls as machines or CNC lathes from me. Now the question is just to do it. But that is exactly where, what is our intent? How skilled are we? Are we doing more than what we can do? So, I'm not trying to sound pessimistic. All I'm trying to say is we don't need to look for anything. We already have it. Look, we responded so well to this pandemic, and so many people started getting into masks. We responded so well to vaccines. So the question is, it's not that tomorrow something else is going to happen and we will go to start, and because of Make in India or Atmanirbhar Bharat, something is changing. Yes, they are all very, very important to create a platform to enthuse people and to, give structure to certain things. See, we are a company that have no foreign collaboration. We have been making in India for the last 40 years. And I sell 15% of my machines in global markets. I have 1,500 machines in China. Again, I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying I'm great. That's not what I'm trying to say. So my submission to all the panelists and all the people who are listening to it, we already have a lot of things with which we could do a lot of things. The question is to get down and do it. And that's exactly where we say it's about scientific temperament, it's about enhancing our skills, and it's about applying better what we know. Of course, I'm not saying let's not learn further, let's not get more technology, let's not move higher in the value chain. That has to happen. But the prerequisite is to make best use of what we have today.
Can you also comment on our academic orientation, say in terms of reverse engineering skills?
See, as far as 3D printing is concerned, we are just starting off to understand this field. Maybe the polymer printing is there in a slightly bigger way in the consumer approach, but as far as industrial is concerned, we are yet to go a long way. We are only into prototyping, but we are on the threshold of getting into productionizing the whole thing. That is where quality and ZEISS comes into play. What is very important is after the graduates come out, they kind of believe, once they get the first job, they kind of believe that the learning ends there. That is where the problem starts. And even I don't see in the industry that people are giving time to the graduates to learn new things, which is actually missing. Of course, programs are conducted on a, what should I say? HR conducts a lot of programs for learning and all. But I think what we miss is that a kind of a formal approach through the cadre, through the complete chain to learn new technologies and apply them. That is how quality can be improved. So I think I request the industries to, for example, I'll give you a simple example for a minute. When we put our new ZEISS CMM into a shop in a company, the operator gets hardly 3 to 5 days to get acquainted to it. We teach him something, he learns something, and then he starts working on the machine for the same component year after year for the next 5 years. There is no learning approach. So I believe learning the new things, what all you can do with the machine should be taught. The company should encourage the employees to learn more and experiment more. And that is how unemployability will go towards employment. Our academics is very, very, very theoretical, definitely. When you say academics, I'm moving to the college area. So our academics is very theoretical, and I think a lot of change is required there. The finishing schools have to be we need more finishing schools and more skill development. But today, what is important is the attitude to learn as a person, as a corporate. Both are very important. And China, I think they are in a different level. I don't think it's difficult to compare. And I don't want to sound pessimistic, as Mr. Ramesh put it, but it will take a lot of time for us to capture. Given the right environment, it is possible, but it is going to take some time.
See, if you look at the development in Germany, why Germany considered excellence in technology? Now, this is because Germany has a well-established over the years this dual system. Now, under the dual system, actually people, when they are studying or when they are graduating, they get the possibility to work in the industry. And the industry is also open to taking these students. So it is a very good combination of theory plus practical knowledge. Also, in this 2 or 3 years of training, the graduate or the student, he gets good hands-on skills. I think what Manoj also very aptly mentioned, Prasad, was that our whole curriculum is very theory-oriented. The practical aspect is really missing. And this has been, unfortunately, over the years, over decades, this has happened. Now, since the last few years, we are talking about getting more practice-oriented. That's why we have, in fact, I think it's a good step by certain colleges I have visited myself a couple of colleges, and I must say I was very impressed. They have set up these labs, maybe the robo labs or automation labs, where they have invited companies, modern companies, to set up their equipment there. I think these are steps in the right direction, but we are only talking about a small drop in the ocean. So I think, of course, the good part is that we have started thinking in this direction. Government is also seeing the importance, but somewhere my strong feeling is that the industry needs to play a more proactive role here, because ultimately, Prasad, the youth that would come out, if they are well trained, it would hugely benefit the industry. I really do not have statistics, but I think there were some studies which showed that because of these youths not being properly trained, how much amount of money the industry has to spend on training these youths, and due to their lack of basic skills, how much actually damage can be done on certain machines. So there was one study, and unfortunately, I don't have the figures immediately with me. And another aspect, Prasad, if I may just add the angle of MSME here. Prasad, we have more than 63 million MSMEs operating in India. And
see, ultimately, nobody studies for the sake of studying. They study because it's useful and they get something to earn. Please let us understand what happened 15 years, 18 years back. There was never anything called software, and software was not changed in curriculum. Everybody said India has too many people and we cannot know what to do. Y2K came. It was again the industry, the software industry, that moved in. They started taking in whoever was available, started doing their own internal courses, and that's how the whole thing happened. And like Rajesh Nath rightly said, 62% of the employment across for technical people happens at the MSME levels. It's not everybody who gets into a Tata or a Boeing or an HAL. It starts at the MSME level. See, we began as an MSME, and I know what the difficulty is to get hard technical people. Now, if somebody after 5 years of engineering, you start him at 10,000 rupees, and then he does not know what he's going to do after 3 years or 4 years. Now, why the hell will he study? And everybody, that's what happened with the huge drain of people going to software. And again, from an Indian perspective, you go across the globe where there is an opportunity. Perhaps Indians as engineers, doctors, accountants learn faster, learn better, and do much better across. This is there for everyone to see. So it's a question of ultimately customer need, and then utilization of that need by somebody who looks at it from a business perspective, and the infrastructural role that the government plays. Yes, we need to go back to course curriculum, ITIs changing. Yeah, but that doesn't happen. To do that, it will take us another 15 years. So it's not, we have to win now, we have to live longer. So we need to look at short term, long term. There are certain things which is firefighting, which is where industry, like what Nath says, has to jump in. And the minute there is success follows more success, and unemployability automatically changes. I mean, it could be a radical view, but this is how we've seen some success.
Mr. Utkarsh, this question is to you, that India has allotted a huge capital infused to defense manufacturing or defense procurement. How do you see that it's going to impact various sectors in manufacturing, including laser, machine tools, and other allied sectors?
What has been observed, our conventional way of working was making us very, very competitive. But always I differ in certain things. Let's say, for example, like Mr. TK Ramesh said that there is a demand for everything. So you need a ordinary lathe, you need a very high-tech machining center. But at the same time, what is happening that we cannot isolate our view for a particular way of working in the industry. We have to look into the ways to stay relevant. If you visit some shop in some small area where there are 4 lathes running and they are producing some component with some accuracy, or there is a large scale of manual gas cutting torches being used to cut plates. We have large population, but the skill level is making you more uncompetitive. you have to really look what is really important. So instead of having 1000 people working for being employable, we also have to look how best we can look into. Say, for example, the world's largest excavator manufacturing company, Sani, produces 100,000 excavator with barely 750 people. Uh, does that mean that China has less manpower, or they don't need it? The factories get evolved, and then there are different ways of employing the people. Today, like another view, what was being given are the academics doing the thing. You interview 10 engineers and ask them how many millimeters are there in a meter. Probably out of 10, 9 will not even answer correctly. And when we say that, let's say, what is that boiling point of water? They'll say 100 degrees. And how much is your fever? 100 degrees. They don't understand the difference between the Celsius and Fahrenheit. So this is the kind of thing that is happening. So the employability part is one. Then the way you make a particular thing in an industry, let's say, even if large groups are entering into manufacturing, that was your question. So we have to really look into the practical approach, what exactly is happening. And as a matter of fact, we proudly are associated with academics. We are setting up the center of excellence. Already we have done in Karnataka with this KGTTI institute coming up, and there are several institutes coming up who are going to teach people basic skills like basic weldings, basic thermal cutting, and this will be, even the machines are being there. So in our own town of Coimbatore, where we have been using our production facilities, there are engineering colleges who have already deployed our thermal cutting laboratories. So we are also trying to get into that level wherein the skills are available right at the stage of pass out and not when they reach the industry. So one view which I would differ is, why should industry be the learning point when they have ample of time of learning? The learning centers have to be at par with the global standards to teach them. Yes, they are ready to go out. Now if you see a fourth year engineering students, he would be knowing some level of programming. And why it doesn't happen with the normal industry? Because the equipments are all old equipments. Now we are also leading our seniors, our team are leading the race for excelling or making the colleges better place. So when the people come out, they are more employable at that stage itself, at least in our sector of thermal cutting.
The global robot sales, Prasad, is around 4 lakh robots globally. Just, I think, 4,20,000 or so. Now, the number of robots sold in China is around 2,40,000. And in India, the number of robots sold is 5,000. So we have a huge gap here. What we need to do is, what is very important for our manufacturing industry is to have technology combined with the labor force. How you can adopt technology to make the labor force more productive, make the whole aspect more safe for manufacturing. And I think that is where this balance we need to get better. Of course, the manufacturing industry, our challenge will be how we can keep people employed. But that is similar challenge China also has. China's population is more than India's. So if China can adopt such a level of automation, in India, I think we also need to really look in the next period. And I think pandemic in many ways, because as Mr. Ramesh also mentioned, I think our backbone of our industry is the MSME. Now, let us be very clear on this point. Without the growth of MSME sector, the Indian manufacturing industry cannot grow. And I think another aspect, very important aspect of our manufacturing industry is also the missing middle. So we have too many small companies and we have a few large companies. But this middle is missing, where we need to increase the smaller companies to fill up this gap of the missing middle. And unless this missing middle is fulfilled to a certain extent, these smaller companies grow up to be mid-sized companies. I think this aspect is very important. And for this, I think in the future, we really would have to look at the possibility of combining automation, the right steps in automation. It is not that like any company starts, you adopt Industry 4.0, all aspects of Industry 4.0, but you can certainly pick certain aspects like remote monitoring, condition monitoring, which can in a way also help the MSME, because if you are able to predict in time breakdown of your machine through remote monitoring, you would not suffer the machine going down. Plus, you need not, in fact, you can take certain steps from remote action also could be undertaken. So I think this is what the industry would really need to adopt in the future if we have to increase our manufacturing and if we have to take the right steps for the manufacturing.
Yeah, we are talking about defense today, and we see that the ecosystem is building up to probably push us in the future. This was a similar situation, say 20 years back. There were a lot of projections from ACMA and the automotive companies about the growth opportunity. I still remember the projection of auto component export to $40 billion was a documented number. And I'm sure we have come a long way. And I mean, today we are on the verge of setting up world's largest electric two-wheeler plant in India. So there are a lot of positives what has happened in the last 15 to 20 years. We must not forget that in the discussion, and we must not go pessimistic. We have done a long, but I think this comparison with China is always going to be not right. It will show us in a different light.
There can be definitely the different ways of looking at it, whether you skill at the level of the college or at school. But with the exposure of internet and different technologies that are coming up, and also our startups are becoming great startups. So these kind of technologies have to get implemented and will be implemented. Otherwise, the companies will become obsolete. So when we look at the opportunity that exists for laser cutting for us, we have definitely a very wide vision, and we have set up a factory to manufacture the laser cutting machines in India with the best of the know-how available, and for Indian market as well as the export market, and the product quality that delivers the end result that will transform the way the manufacturing happens. So like I have earlier already told in my let's say presentation, that already the laser cutting has replaced 4 types of machine tools: shearing, drilling, then turret punch press, and some machining operations. So definitely such kind of things will make other kind of machineries obsolete. The technology is obsolete. The way you do the things will become obsolete. And definitely I see a lot of hopes happening, let's say how the things will adopt, how the things will get implemented, and what are the opportunities that are coming up. Opportunities definitely will be there in any scenario.
We have been a net importer of defense equipment. And if you really look at the numbers, the number of ordnance factories that we've got, the number of defense establishments that it's only now that the private sector is kind of getting into it, like Bharat Forge and companies like that, Tatas, etc., etc. So while yes, again, ultimately the competitiveness of manufacturing, like what Mr. Nath put, is the whole ecosystem, like I was mentioning in my initial term. A good reference, perhaps, I'm again to get from the automotive industry. Today, if you look at any EY, Deloitte, KPMG, they would say the best ecosystem for manufacture of two-wheelers and small cars in the entire world is India. Why? It's the MSME, it's the supply chain, and it's the imported technology that came in here, along with whatever little happened in people training students. So my personal belief is defense for exports, then it has to be the bigger few doing here and sending it outside. But the geopolitical situation of the need for such a huge defense industry and the greenness and the new politics that could emerge over the next 5 years, 6 years, I don't know whether mankind as a whole can even afford another war. So, or one war is enough for all the defense manufacturing to simply go away, so that we go back to the ages of clubs. So defense as exports with so many trillions of exports, I mean, I have mixed feelings about it.
I would just like to, from my side, close with, I would say, the 4 R's. Reflect, think what is the challenge, your current scenario planning, what is the present scenario. Resize, see how you can really resize, use the tools available to resize the organization and make it more fitter for the future, and also fit to undergo such aspects like pandemic hitting us, which came out of the blue. And then rethink, also look at innovation, look at some digital tools, how you can really rethink on how you can think out of the box, see what could be done, which are the business sectors, and it could be new business sectors also emerging. As Mr. Ramesh also earlier mentioned, I think the traditional companies may not, if they have been doing a particular, working in a particular sector. I think now India offers ample opportunity. You could look at other new venues also. And finally, I would like to conclude with the 4th R would be reimagine. So I think, again, reimagine, look at what are the tools available, what are the business opportunities, think out of the box. And I'm sure the Indian manufacturing industry would progress. And I think the next 2 to 3 years are going to be good period. I think they are going to be, our economy is, we are talking already of a V-shaped recovery. And I think in the future, the projections are a growth of about 10 to 11%. And this can only be achieved when the manufacturing sector also grows and contributes to the growth of the nation and the country.
Panelists and dear delegates, we hope you enjoyed the session thoroughly. Before wrapping up today's session, we would like to thank our distinguished panelists, Mr. T.K. Ramesh, Mr. Utkarsh Landekar, Mr. Manoj K.S., and Mr. Rajesh Nath. Thanks to all our delegates, our panelists, and our viewers. So with this, we would like to announce the closing of today's session. I would request you to stay tuned for more such sessions. Until then, thank you and goodbye.